So should pro athletes be able to smoke weed? We know athletes work their bodies to the bone to be able to achieve peak performance. They work out constantly throughout the week so they can be at their best. But we know it's not just constant working out either. It's managing a diet so their bodies can adequately build muscle and recover. It's managing their recovery to make sure their bodies are even ready for their competition to begin with. And it's accounting for a bunch of other variables. They could be injured, and they could be trying to come back from that. And other elements can disrupt this cycle of work. Elements like stress, anxiety, depression, or even other distractions can cause their athletes to lose focus. We know athletes like Calvin Johnson and Josh Gordon in the NFL, as well as the Nick and Nate Diaz brothers in the UFC, Michael Phelps and Sha'Carri Richardson, both athletes in the Olympics, as well as Allen Iverson and Kevin Durant of the NBA, are just some of the athletes who use weed. And they're famous athletes who smoke. Yet they're criticized or banned from their sport for doing so. Many professional sporting bodies ban the usage of the drug for their athletes, although it could potentially help them improve their performance by mitigating some of the stress they are constantly under. So why can't they simply use the world's most common drug that many others use to relax or to help with recovery, do the same for themselves? Should they be allowed to use it at all? If they did, how could it affect their bodies, their performance, and would it allow them to improve with the usage of this drug? So to better understand marijuana and how it can affect athletes, we first need to take a look at how it affects me and you. Okay? So marijuana affects the body through the endocannabinoid system, right? This is a channel of complex receptors and signals that help the body to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is your body's ideal operating window. It allows the body to control and regulate things like mood, appetite, sleep, pain sensation, immune response, and sleep cycles, as well as maintaining the body's ideal operating temperature. Sorry, lost it there for just a second. Got right back to it. So usually the body produces its own cannabinoids known as endocannabinoids. Endo meaning inside, and these cannabinoids bind to receptors throughout the brain and the body and tell the body how it needs to be regulated, what needs to be changed. That way, everything's working good, everything's working smoothly. So, when we introduce our bodies to weed, we receive an influx of extra cannabinoids known as tetrahydrocannabinol, commonly known as THC, as well as cannabinoidal, also known as CBD. So, these outside cannabinoids bind to our receptors, our CB1 and CB2 receptors, and alter the way of functioning. THC, or the psychoactive component of marijuana, is the one that gives us that feeling of being high, like, oh man, I feel good, right? So this one binds to our CB1 receptor in the central nervous system. It's going to be our CNS, so include things like our brain as well as our spinal cord. That's only going to be the CNS, right? So this binding effect affects the neurotransmitter release, leading to altered or slowed perception, as well as reduced pain, sensitivity, and relaxation. Again, man, I feel good, right? So the benefit for athletes could be significant due to the intense physical pain from their activities that they do so often, resulting in micro tears, inflammation, and chronic soreness, right? So when you work out, you're basically causing a micro tear to happen in your body. Say you're doing a bicep curl, right? Little tears, little tears, little tears. And usually they're not bad, but that is what brings about soreness as your body's trying to build back up and fix those little tears, causing the muscle to grow, as well as improving performance. So, if it was introduced to the body, THC after a workout could allow these athletes to better tolerate the demands of their careers more effectively. And while talking about marijuana, I mentioned chemicals brought about by smoking, one being THC and the other CBD. CBD, it doesn't include that psychoactive component of smoking that THC induces. Yet, It has a very similar property of anti-inflammatory that can help aid in muscle recovery and reduce anxiety, which can help athletic performance. And as good as this all sounds, some marijuana's effects are not entirely positive. Some scientific studies show that THC, the psychoactive component, can also have an impact on motor coordination. This can be movement, walking, things like that. So it can slow reaction time as well as worsen short-term memory, particularly in high doses and before physical activity. So what our athletes are doing, not the best look. The side effects may be the cause as to why marijuana was banned in the first place. Despite this, it's important to distinguish the usage of this substance from competition and during periods of recovery. Unlike steroids or stimulants, weed has no real effect on physical output. Instead, it should act as a regulatory tool to help manage the pain, stress, and fatigue brought about after an athlete works out. The distinction is also very, very important in determining whether or not marijuana should be banned, right? And marijuana can be used in a well and safe sense. It has received a negative perception in sports that is deeply rooted in both political and historical factors, rather than pure scientific evidence. In the early 1900s, it became associated with crime, guns, boom, boom, boom. Not good. Right. So, it was also known to have a decline in social morale. So many political campaigns sought to use that as a fear factor, and they portrayed weed as this dangerous drug that leads to violence and instability within society, despite scientific evidence showing the other. So they did all this without any scientific support or claim. So this narrative, it influenced the way we see weed now. It changed our opinions and led us to strict legal restrictions. And one of the most important routes as to why marijuana was banned was because of its inclusion in the drug control treaties, such as the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. So this agreement classified cannabis as a highly and dangerous substance with little to no medical value. And with that, it limited our research opportunity for decades. So due to this, the scientific understanding of marijuana usage remained very vague, very much in the dark, and lies just kept spewing onward. Everybody kept saying, oh man, weed's bad, weed's bad. And athletes were also seen as a pillar of peak performance. So due to the banning, athletes were expected to be the role models for the youth. Man, that's somebody we should look up to. They were to remain clean and pure. And unfortunately, the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, classified marijuana on their usage of banned substances despite evidence that it could not improve performance. Misread that it could actually improve performance. And so this didn't help change the world's view of marijuana, as the classification put it in the realm of steroids and other stimulants that weren't at all the same, as marijuana's effects are vastly different compared to steroids. You do steroids, you get juiced, you get huge, right? You smoke weed, you get high. So though in recent years the public has gravitated more towards the usage and legalization of marijuana due to its benefits, slowly many more organizations have started to relax a little bit around the strictness of marijuana, though the taint on the drug was still there. And although the strict chokehold many leagues had around the drug was tight, it's common among athletes, showing it has a purpose in sports. Somewhere out there, it has a purpose. And the main reason being pain management and reduction. Kevin Durant doesn't smoke weed because he enjoys it. No, Kevin Durant smokes weed because it helps him to recover and to be a better athlete so he can perform on a regular basis. So many traditional ways of managing pain in sports are expensive or prescription medication, such as opioids. And these have a much higher risk of addiction and a much more dangerous side. Yet, on the other side, we look at marijuana, offered less potential of risk, making it more appealing towards athletes to find relief. And another potential reason in recovery, after many physical activities, the body needs downtime. It needs to rest. It needs time to repair those micro tears I was talking about. And so sleep is the main component of this process. Yet many of our athletes, due to their working out, find sleep hard. They find it uncomfortable. They still face all this stress and anxiety due to their soreness. And the research suggests that cannabis, particularly high in CBD, could improve sleep quality as well as the duration of it. So it just allows these athletes to continue to build more muscle at a better rate and more effective between their training sessions. So although it isn't seen as a pain, mental health can also affect an athlete's performance. The pressure is on the athlete to be the best they can be. And combined with the high intense training and competition, it can lead to mental health disorders such as stress, anxiety, and burnout. Nobody likes that stuff. I don't like stress. You don't like stress. I don't like feeling burnt out. You don't like it either. Neither do these athletes. They're still human at the end of the day. So marijuana can help reduce these symptoms by allowing athletes to maintain their focus, as well as balancing for better emotional regulation. It helps them feel better too. And some athletes do report that weed enhances the enjoyment of exercise. Imagine that. Something that makes you feel better makes you have more enjoyment in something you do every day. So it allows for improved motivation and consistency. And factors such as this show the usage among athletes is not about gaining an advantage in sports. Rather, it's managing the physical demands of their sport. So not improving their performance, but helping the physical demands and the recovery of their performance. So this debate over marijuana being used in athletics is far more complex than just weed is illegal, so it has to be banned. It has been known for many biological effects, and it walks the line of fairness and safety, as well as that towards the culture of sports in general. One of the main arguments towards it being legalized in sport is that it allows for better recovery due to the chemicals that it introduces to the body. It allows for improved recovery for athletes. Again, due to the chemicals that it brings along, right? So we know athletes use ice baths to help. They use physical therapy and other medications, like we talked about, the opioids, that help them along the way. In this sense, we should be able to categorize weed in the same bracket, right? As it does allow for a better recovery. It helps with stress and management, and it should be viewed on these same ways. It should be taken into account that marijuana is used for recovery. Additionally, marijuana raises the question about consistency and how substances are banned and why they're banned. For example, alcohol and other prescription medications can both impair cognitive and physical function, yet they aren't treated with the same level of fear that marijuana is. So this inconsistency suggests marijuana's classification should be influenced more by what it could do for athletes rather than the societal views on it. So a better and more balanced approach is one that allows for controlled usage outside of competition, as it better aligns with scientific backgrounds that we have, and it maintains fairness in sports. And by rewiring our understanding of its effects, we can better change sports regulations, right? And consider the wide range of marijuana usage that these sporting bodies can create for pro athletes in their competition.